What's going on, everyone? It's Sam and Cody from the Finals Central, and welcome to episode 3 of Around the Arena. We missed last week's episode, so this week we have a ton in store for you. Cody's going to kick us off with some channel announcements, specifically about our new Discord. Go ahead, Cody.
So, as you might have heard, at the end of the last episode, we did drop a new Discord. Ton of cool stuff going on in there. A lot of LFG possibilities if you're someone that needs an extra. We already have some people in there. There's been a lot of cool chats about lore, just general conversations about life and all things the finals. We wanted to move it to the front of the episode because we think there's a little bit more engagement. But absolutely feel free to join in. We still need a couple mods. We want to do a lot of really cool events. So just stay tuned and make sure you're there if you want to be involved.
Yeah, and also speaking of mods, shout out to our two main mods, Finny and Wayne. Those guys have been killing it. So if you guys join up in the channel, make sure you say hello to them. They're really cool to talk to, very active, and very passionate about things, the finals, both from a competitive and casual standpoint. So drop in and say hey to them. So next up on the channel announcements, we'll go ahead and jump into channel memberships. So also in the Discord and here on YouTube, we posted saying that we are now YouTube partners. This does not mean we have ad monetization yet, but we do have access to things like super chats, a shop, which we probably will not use, but also channel memberships. Channel memberships on YouTube are similar to like Twitch subs in a way, except we get to set the price and choose tiers and things like that for you guys. So we have enabled those as of last night. We are recording this episode on Thursday, April 17th. So these are live now, and we have specifically one tier. We felt like that's what we wanted to give, and it's at a low price. Of course, to support us, you don't need to become a member. Do not feel like you have to spend money on us. But if you do feel like you want to do that, then there are some perks you're going to get with it. So our current tier is just contestant. It costs $3. You're going to get access to things like loyalty badges, emojis, outro shoutouts. So we will be displaying every member on the end of our YouTube videos and also podcasts. You'll also get access to a dedicated members only Discord channel and chat. So text channels and chat, voice chats as well, specifically just for members. We'll also be pulling from people that are members specifically to be included in our gameplay recording sessions. So typically what happens is like when a new patch releases or we're going for gameplay, we'll queue up, we run some games, we chat to each other in Discord and talk and play just like normal, but we don't record that audio. But if you're a member, you'll be able to jump in, be our third. And your name would be on screen and things like that. So, and then in future videos as well, if we do like let's plays and stuff, you would have the opportunity to be featured in that as well. And then finally, the last thing is gaining access to exclusive tournaments and events. We are planning on hosting tournaments, all sorts of, fun stuff like triple heavy tournaments where they can only use sledge, for example, or just weird rule sets that maybe have some prizes at the end, like, some multi-bucks or things like that. We hope to eventually do this, where we can also have a higher prize pool for members only tournaments. This is obviously way down the line. So be aware that if you're signing up for memberships, this is something that obviously does not exist. It's not like we're doing it regularly right now, but it is something on the docket that we want to get done. So yeah, check that out. There should be a button right next to the subscribe button if you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and click that button while you're there anyways. So anything you want to add to that, Cody?
Just to loop back into Discord, I really just want to hammer down how much I appreciate Finny and Wayne. They went out of their way to hit me up and expressed how much they were, wanting to be involved in the community on Discord, and I could not have done it without them. I mean, just really absolutely shout out to you two.
Yeah, those guys are the best. Cool. So like I said in the intro, we do have a lot of content to get through. So today's episode might be moving pretty quick. We're going to touch on some things pretty quickly and some things we'll linger on. But the thing that we're going to touch on fast, because we have actually not had a chance to play it just yet, is actually patch 6.4, which released today, I believe around like 6 a.m. Eastern time or 3 a.m. Pacific time in the US, it looked like. So reading through the patch notes and watching some gameplay, here are the main things that have changed. So the first up is the minigun. has received a spread reduction, specifically in focus fire mode. So meaning when you're ADSing, even though there are no sights, but when you're holding right click or your ADS button. And that also includes when moving while doing that. One thing to note though is I think it's a 10% reduction for both of these, but they are not the same spread. So moving does have a higher penalty versus standing still, but both moving and standing still have received spread reductions, which does confirm, which we received some comments about and also had some chats in the Discord, that holding down focus fire or ADS or whatever button you want to call it does actually cause your aim to be better with the minigun. We received an update, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, where aim assist was added on controller for the minigun. So now it should feel like, more standard to a rifle. Obviously, it's a hip-fired minigun, but yeah. Beyond that, the repeater received an environmental damage buff. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but essentially this was used so that the repeater can do more damage to zip lines specifically. Interesting change. I don't think it affects core gameplay much. It just affects if you shoot zip lines pretty often. And then finally, there's a new World Tour out. The new World Tour this week essentially just has 2 game show events per round. I think the period between the events, from what I saw, which I'm traveling for work, so I have not played this update, but I've checked it out on Twitch when I can today. There's about a minute to 2 minutes of downtime between the 2 events. So you're pretty much constantly in a game show event. It looks like it's meteor showers and the alien invasion. I haven't seen a lot more events happening in this World Tour, so maybe those are the only 2, but that's what I could find. So
yeah, another thing we wanted to touch upon is the new video schedule that also is kind of talked about in these patch notes. They've moved on from being a Wednesday, Thursday update to a guaranteed Thursday update. With that, we're going to kind of shift our video schedule to match that. So on Thursdays or Fridays, we're going to have a overview of the newest update, kind of similar to the video that Sam just dropped. And since I think, what day is it going to be when we're dropping this? Monday?
Yeah, Monday ideally.
I will have also dropped an update overview. So it's just going to briefly go over some of the changes, some of the new World Tour stuff. Nothing too in depth, unless the update is super big. But if we're going into big updates, like say a season drop, we're gonna have a lot more than just one video for that sort of thing. Besides Monday for around the arena and Thursdays and Fridays for the update coverage, any MISC videos just kind of be whenever we think is good, such as like the guides that I've made, or maybe some of the patch note coverages, or not the patch notes, sorry, like the top 4 guns that Sam made, or the top 3 builds that I made. Those are just gonna kind of be whenever. Going into that though, there was some changes we wanted to talk about that happened in 6.3, even though we're on 6.4, because it was pretty big. Do we want to go over the World Tour real quick? I know you did a video on that.
Yeah, so World Tour didn't really receive too much in 6.3, but 6.3 is the largest patch we've received this season since the initial release. The reason being because they dropped returning limited time mode called Bunny Bash, which is basically a variant of Power Shift where each class, so light, medium, or heavy, have a couple weapons to choose from, and then a couple gadgets to choose from, and then one specialization. So it's almost like limited loadouts. All the new weapons are featured in that. So the ARN, the repeater, and the minigun. And then in addition to that, it was stuff like the CL40 grenade launcher on medium, the MG32 grenade launcher on heavy. And I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. Oh, the 93R on light was the other one. I don't think there was anything else on light, but I might be missing something. So it's a ton of fun. There is loot up for grabs by playing the event. There are, I think, a total of 8 contracts you can complete, and then a 9th one being like a completionist contract where you've done all the previous ones. You just get that one. But from week 1, you get weapon skins, as well as a goo grenade skin, and I think a weapon charm. And then week 2, so this week, you get cosmetics. So check that out. It's totally free to get those rewards and things like that. They're pretty cool in my opinion. I think the weapon skins are really dope. And it's a ton of fun as well. I've been playing a lot of Power Shift recently, casually. So, it was nice to see like somewhat of a variant to it. It's had some mixed reviews, but I honestly, one thing I will mention is one of the equipments that were left out was the defib on medium. And I will say it's actually been kind of refreshing to not have to deal with that to an extent. So I'm sure there's tons of people who disagree, but it is pretty fun that like heal beam is the only specialization you have and you don't have defib. I'm seeing a lot of people playing light and heavy instead of medium because of it, I think. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I actually did not know that defib was taken out of that mode. That is very interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. So the next thing we want to talk about, which is kind of the big thing in 6.3, was the sword nerf. It's super, super all over the place, I feel like, in terms of what everybody thinks is good for the game. And that kind of moves into what we want to talk about, but I do just want to go over what exactly changed. So the sword does have an alt fire. It's essentially like a dash. You can lunge forward and do a bunch of damage. And it was essentially, from what I know, I'm going to check just right now, it was cut in half, almost entirely.
Not in half, but it's a pretty substantial decrease. So I've got it up in front of me. The secondary attack damage on the sword was decreased from 140 to 105, which is
oh, wow. Okay. I thought it was a lot more.
No, but 140 to 105
it's a lot.
Is a lot.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah. You're talking, I think, 2 hitting a light still with it, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's noticeable in the range, at least when I covered it. I tried it out, but I'm not a sword player. So, take that as you will. Yeah.
I mean, so that kind of does just jump into our point is this good for the game? I mean, as someone who's played a lot, I mean, especially recently, sword was a pretty, big annoyance. But I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm not a big fan of super hard nerfs like this on weapons that are rampant. Unless they're rampant and they got, buffed like crazy, then, yeah, I can understand that. If it has, a 90% usage in a game, throughout the week or whatever, yeah, drop something, dude. That's crazy utilization. But the sword is not something that was that bad. I know people are going to say that's crazy, but to be honest with you, yes, there was that person in the game that would ruin your life, but it was just one guy. And it's probably that one guy who's like, dude, it's my time to shine, dude. It's finally here. All the years I've been
Spider-Man main.
All the years I've been practicing the sword. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one guy.
No. Yeah, 100%. I saw this patch and was like, oh, damn. First of all, people are going to be pissed.
I was pissed because I covered it. It just got nerfed.
Yeah, you had just released it. You released a video. It was scheduled same day as when this patch went out. I think it even went out 5 minutes before the patch notes released.
Yeah.
That was pretty sad.
What the fuck, gang? What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, my take on the sword is the same. I thought it was strong, but it was kind of one of those things where it was somewhat easy to punish. If you just kept your space as a medium player, that I didn't feel like I really had that big of a problem dealing with it. I just put a jump pad down before they saw me and just made sure I played range. I really didn't think it was that bad. I do want to go over the dev note because I think it gives a little bit of insight into why this is being nerfed. And it also addresses one other thing. So from the dev note, from the patch notes, the sword has increasingly become a source of frustration for a lot of players, especially light players, who feel its one-shot potential when combined with quick melee is too oppressive. Over time, we've been trying to reduce the potential for one-shots in a lot of places in the game, and we feel it's time to address that here. We believe the sudden rise in frustration with the sword is also partially due to the removal of the stun gun, which was light players' answer to a fast lunging sword user in the past. This change removes the essentially one-shot potential of the sword. Longer term, we're going to continue to monitor the sword and explore some alternative changes that might allow us to nudge the lunge damage back up. But that will take more time, and we'd rather try to address this issue now than wait. We'll also need to see how things change once the reworked stun gun returns, which would be around 6.6. Additionally, there are several exploits and bugs we've become aware of related to performing extra or phantom attacks, which we're aiming to fix in the near future. So the first thing is obviously they pretty much said that the stun gun is coming back in 6.6. I don't remember if they said this in the previous patch notes, so 6.2. I don't think they did. I think this was the first time it was mentioned, but either way, stun gun should be returning in about 2 weeks now. And then they're going to reassess. I do think, like I said, it's too oppressive of a change. I think it's a little ridiculous. You have light players that have so much movement. It sounds like they made this patch to kind of cater to the light crowd in a way, which is very interesting to me. And I get it to an extent, like people running the XP54 or the M11 or the shotgun, like they need to be up close and the sword player can close the gap because of the lunge. Like I get that, but I honestly feel like maybe they should have just tuned down the ridiculous lunge range rather than the damage. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Here's the weird thing, right? Is a lot of games, if they're not happy with where something's at, they kind of take the Overwatch approach where they just ignore it and let it ruin the game, or they'll disable it. From what I've seen in my experience, Embark is the dev team that will, either disable or change it right away, whether or not they think it's necessarily the right change, and they'll revert it later. I personally don't think this was the best choice. I think killing a weapon because of some circumstances is a little unfair to a lot of people that have devoted their life to the sword. And it's not a good feeling. I actually, funny enough, saw a lot of people in the comments were like, oh yeah, they nerfed the sword. That was kind of my main reason of playing. I'm going to dip. And that's it. And you can't really get that person back. You can buff the sword and be like, hey guys, we brought it back. And that person is kind of like a coin flip of coming back. That might be it. Because it's not a good feeling when you have something that you have used the entire game and it's just kind of been sitting there, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, which brings us into our next point, some content creators start complaining, and then it gets nerfed. And you're like, I didn't even know this was a problem. I was just being a fun little guy on, World Tour using the sword. And all of a sudden it became this widespread talking point that this thing is OP.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, and we'll jump into that with the content creators in a second. But with how Embark is really, they're really engaging with the community when it comes to like dev teams. I feel like they really try to listen to the community a lot. And so that's going to bring up an interesting point. But one thing I think I would have liked to have seen is with a change as oppressive as this, which this is a drastic change. I think they should have done like a player survey in game or something, at least to get some feedback on it, just put it out there, or even just in their Discord. They've got a pretty lively Discord. I'm looking at it right now as we record, and there's 65 people in voice chats in their Discord currently, which is a lot. So even dropping like a poll in there or something just to get the full community's feeling of it, I think would have been a better approach. I think they're getting a little bit burned. I don't know, but it's crazy that even in our comments from this patch update, we're hearing about content creators, pushing this change, and that people don't like that. So I'm mentioning people by name. So yeah, I think they should have really done something with the community more, but that's my take.
Yeah, I just think it's a slippery slope. If you kind of take this approach with everything in the game, you slowly kind of kill a lot of your hardcore player base. It's happened a lot. There's a lot of games that are, want to be this competitive scene, and, they're so obsessed with making this perfect, competitive landscape, and you actually kill a lot of what makes the game unique and fun in the long term. And just because a game is competitive doesn't mean competitive players want to play it.
Yeah, and here's the last thing I want to mention real quick is like the sword is one of those weapons that we see in other games or characters in other games. Let's take like Genji in Overwatch, for example. And we mentioned Overwatch because that's something we're really familiar with. So, but take like Genji or like Black Panther from Marvel Rivals or whatever, like it's not like Joe Schmo, who just bought an Xbox, is hopping on the finals for the first time and then going to absolutely carry the entire lobby with the sword. He might, but if he does, he's like the top 5%. Okay?
He was built for it. The sword was built for him.
The problem with taking advice from content creators specifically is while they act like the liaisons for the finals community, if you were to go on Twitch right now and you watch the top creators that are playing the finals, most of them are actually playing ranked right now, which is kind of crazy. That's flipped a lot. I was shocked to see that today specifically. And B, a lot of those people are close, if not top 500. So you're already talking about the top, 1 to 5% of the player base, and then they're getting worked by people at their level who are the top 1 to 5% of the game, which, to be honest with you, you could give them the worst gun in the game, and those people are still going to pop off in most lobbies. So to say that, we're nerfing the sword because of, top players' experiences with other top players using it, okay, well then, we might as well do the same with, the FAMAS or the AKM or the XP54. It doesn't matter. There's going to be some gun that then becomes, arguably the best gun that people are going to complain about next at that level. And that's kind of the problem. We've seen that with Call of Duty, especially GAs.
Whoa.
Why people hate them so much.
Don't even bring them up, dude.
It's the same reason, because it's you're talking about the top 2% of people who are mechanically perfect. And I'm like, okay, well, 98% of the player base is not good enough with this weapon to really make it that big of a deal. So yeah, I personally don't like it. I don't like the way they went around it. And the last thing I'll say is, the finals, it's a good thing that every single time we release a video that talks about meta, people want to kind of take our heads off.
Yeah, I agree.
Or say we have bad takes, because most weapons, the gap between them in performance is pretty minimal. I mean, you have a couple things that just make sense more. So in my case with medium, it makes way more sense for me 99% of the time to run the AKM, the FAMAS, or the FCAR over the CL40, right? Or the dual katanas. It just makes sense, okay? But the sword, you're gonna remove it, and then guess what? The XP54 is now gonna be the conversation. Or the SH1900, and people are gonna be complaining about getting two-shot by that thing. It's these weapons are so close together that as soon as one thing leaves, another thing takes its spot as far as being the broken quote-unquote thing. So it's better just to not even do giant oppressive things that already the weapon doesn't have that high of usage rate.
No, I totally agree. I think you nailed it on the head. I mean, it's much better that this game especially, it's not just one thing. It's a bunch of things are annoying. And that's a good thing, because that means everybody has a playstyle that is enforced and has a chance of, having a good time and being competitively viable. That's why I always say, the fact that somebody can go and run Sledgehammer, and I'm like, dude, this thing sucks, but I'm over here getting shit on. I'm gonna bleep that out. I have to, because that's what is happening. I am getting shit on by the Sledgehammer. Okay, and this guy is just good at what he does. And you got to give him some credit. Okay, you got to give him some credit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not jumping on heavy, which we all know at this point that is Cody and I's least played class. I'm trying to play more of it. He is as well, to start bringing some content to you guys. But we're not jumping on heavy, picking up the Sledgehammer, and then carrying lobbies. And the same is true if I were to jump on sword pre-patch. And the same is probably true with the Cerberus. I don't know. You get my point. It takes time and effort to get good with a weapon, which is great. That's what this game is. In my opinion, that's one of the things that keeps me playing this game, is because if I want to change up my loadout and change up what I'm running, I have something to grind to. I feel like I can improve. It's not just oh, this is another assault rifle. It feels the exact same as the previous. So
yeah, that kind of jumps into another thing that we want to just touch upon, is that with that in case, everybody kind of has their idea of what balance looks like in this game. And with the overall ideal team being 1-1-1 right now, is that how they should balance the game? Or are we trying to balance every possibility? And we talked about this a little bit, me and Sam, last night, because we brought this point up, is that I don't think you can do that. If you have this idea that every class works in the game, you aren't going to balance it because there's just things that are good and bad in those scenarios. So I kind of came to the conclusion that the devs and people have what they think is the ideal thing to run, and that is what they're balancing the game around. So I think it's a really tricky situation, really tricky situation.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think you walk by default a slippery slope in a game like this or a hero shooter or things where you have classes, because it can be very easy to tune in the terms of the class, which is kind of what's happened with the sword, right? Like they say it straight out that light players are annoyed by dying to the sword, yet mediums and heavies, you don't see that mentioned. Sure, medium and heavy get annoyed with it, but yeah, if a sword player is running into a heavy that has a sledge, guess who's winning that fight? The heavy. The heavy's the.
I've done it. It doesn't work. It's like a beef shooter.
Yeah, the heavy's the counter unless you diff them on skill, which is totally doable. You know, like it's not guaranteed, but that's the point. It's countered by the class as it should be, and so the problem is if you don't cater to the 1-1-1 meta, meaning one light, one medium, one heavy, you start to potentially slide down this slippery slope where you're alienating one of those classes, and it makes that class feel unfun. So say heavies are, for one day, people are like, I don't know, the health pool's too high, we're going to nerf that. Oh, we're going to nerf their movement speed even more. Oh, we're going to nerf them this. Eventually nobody's going to play heavy. Like they're just going to stop. Heavy already is the least played class, like hands down, in the finals. It's pretty apparent. I don't know if there's specific stats, but in our Discord, people are talking about it literally today. And I think that changes like this that happen with the sword, like Cody mentioned, you run the risk of already alienating a specific category of player, which is melee players, because now you have the dagger. And you also have the possibility where you start alienating light players in general. And people are like, well, you know, one day it doesn't feel as good compared to running the Cerberus, so let's just run 3 medium with the Cerberus.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the kind of thing that loops us back to this main talking point, is that, like in all of our episodes, is that with the finals, I mean, we want it to succeed, but you can't really be making these sort of calls when the player base is as low as it is. You can't risk alienating, like you said, Joe Schmo with the sword, because that's another player you're losing. And there's probably a couple of them. And, you know, I'm not saying finals is doing bad per se, but it's not exactly the highest FPS around, or even really close into comparison to what the top FPSs are in terms of player counts. It's not a dead game. We've had that conversation. Everybody brings it up. It's not a dead game. It's very, very full of life. And the community and the players that are here are very passionate, and that's great. But when you start alienating those people, like Sam said, I mean, you kind of really can't be taking that sort of chance. It's too risky. I mean, you do that once, you do it, like all those little things that are slowly ticking people off, and that's how, you know, your game starts trickling away. So it's not a smart decision in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, just for like a quick reference as well. So the video where we covered this patch notes, it's our previous video to this, actually, well, 2 previous videos, I guess now. We received 135 comments, okay? But that includes the comments that we provided, that we replied to. So keep that number in mind. It's really probably about half that, I guess. Granted, there's threads of conversation, but let's assume like half, okay? So let's assume 65. 65 people came in and commented on the video and gave their thoughts. And I'd say probably 5, 8, maybe 10 people said, yeah, sword was what kept me playing, I'm out. Like that's a pretty high amount out of 60. I mean,
I know
that's not a small amount.
And imagine all the people that didn't even watch the video because they're out, dude. They're out.
Exactly. And also, I mean, there's people mad at content creators, certain ones, who apparently complain about the sword. Whether it's their fault or not, that's not for me to say, but I'm just saying. There are, interestingly enough, as well, in not even that video, in your light build video, which I was reading through some comments earlier today, people are talking about being scared of mentioning what their favorite weapon is right now, or talking about what the meta is because they're worried that it's going to get nerfed into the floor and they can't play it anymore. I think they're probably exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah.
So far from Embark, I haven't seen anything too crazy when it comes to nerfs. This is the biggest one we've seen so far. But it is interesting that people are already kind of panicking like that, like just after one nerf this season, which I think this is the first nerf we've gotten this season. I don't even think we've had a nerf until right now.
I will say, like, I mean, there's other games where meta. I've never. I mean, maybe I'm in the wrong crowd, but I've never been like had someone scared to say what they play. Like, I mean, I will say, and I love this. You know, I love this about the community. People are very passionate, and I don't know what y'all be on sometimes. But I wish I was on it with you, man, because y'all are so passionate about this game. It's crazy. I mean,
I think it's light players. My favorite thing is every time you upload a video, we don't even post to Reddit anymore. And every time you upload a video and it's a light guide, people are like, oh, what do we do to piss off Reddit today?
They're fighting in the comments.
First comment
It's
is
like,
that.
and then you go into, I mean, like, yeah, Sam gets some bad comments, but like you go into Sam's and it's like, dude, great video, Sam. I love you. I love what you're doing here. And then you go to my comments like, Cody, you're an idiot, dude. You're an idiot, and I think you should uninstall and you should delete this video. And I'm like, all right, bro. Like, I guess this is the community I chose. This is what I'm fostering over here, I guess. It's like I don't know if you like in Wizard of Oz, you know, you can take the Yellow Brick Road and then there's the scary forest, and that's medium and light player right there. You can go into the scary dark forest with the light players, or you can go to the nice Emerald City.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's messed up.
And heavy players, I promise we haven't forgotten about you, but as we've learned from our month as content creators now, because apparently we've fallen into the title as content creators, we've learned not to release misinformed videos or not fully 110% informed videos. So we are working on heavy content, but we are taking our sweet time with it because God forbid we don't want to release something that is inaccurate when it comes to playing heavy, things about weapons, whatever. So just saying, in the off hours, I'm practicing my heavy. I played a lot of heavy for Bunny Bash, playing a lot in Power Shift, playing some in World Tour even. Cody doesn't like it. Cody doesn't like me playing heavy in World Tour.
Pissing me off, I'll tell you that.
He does not like it. Normally, we play World Tour and we play ranked, and with me on medium, I chase him around, and we're like two little peas in a pod.
I'm huffing.
Yeah, we're two little peas in a pod, just running around trading each other stuff. But on a heavy, man, no. I can't keep up.
It's like the shake without the bake. I'm just saying. It's like the shake without the bake. I'm just saying. You remove the bake. It's all shake. No bake.
And you know what I told him? I said, I'm sorry, bro. I'm out here for the fans right now. I said, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this for you guys. I'm suffering in silence for you. So I'm just saying. Okay.
Oh, you're suffering. You're doing it.
Listen, you said that you don't care about us hitting top 500 like in rank this season. I said, okay, I'm going to play heavy. And then you said, God, bro, dude, I can't do it. Like, I hate having a random medium instead of you. And I'm like, listen, like, I'm doing it for the fans.
Yeah, I was kissing you through the phone, dude. I was like Drake in Marvin's room. I was like, "Are you drunk right now? What's up, dude? Come back, dude. We can fix this."
Exactly.
I want to hit top 500 so bad, but it really is like it's this content or it's nothing,
it really
man.
is. It's kind of
we can't do both.
Maybe you guys can let us know if you would watch like us making gameplay content, like specifically just like the equivalent of a let's play with us playing ranked. If you want to watch that, or maybe we start a second channel one day and we're just uploading raw gameplay to there, let us know. We'll do it. But before this channel blew up, we were gonna try to hit top 500 this season, and it has absolutely gone out the window. We ain't got time for that with making videos and stuff. So we're enjoying what we're doing. Don't get us wrong. But if you want to see stuff like that, or you want us to switch out the video for us trying to grind a top 500, you want to watch the shenanigans of us yelling at each other while we play video games, we can do that. So let us know. Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of talked a lot about finals. I want to kind of move into a little bit of the content creator side that we kind of touched upon already. We went through a really, really weird kind of like honeymoon phase ending. I mean, I'm sure people have noticed, you know, we had insane growth. I mean, insane growth. And all of a sudden, it kind of went to a halt. I mean, we had videos that were struggling to get 1,000 views, and they've definitely evened out over, the past week or two. I mean, we're at like 3K. But it's just so weird. I mean, if you take a look at our channel right now, you don't have to, but we have like Sam's video he dropped on the update, right? It has like 9K views or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that. And then you have my light guide that was struggling to get to 1 to 2K. And so before we kind of just made the content that we thought was going to work, and it worked. And then we had this weird thing where I made a video that I thought was going to be really good, and it's not. And we kind of went through just this really weird conversation of why. Why is this happening? What's going on? And we started thinking about maybe there's some outside elements, right? If you're not familiar with some other games out, I mean, Marvel Rivals got an insane update. Marathon was getting some information dropping, which is also huge. Call of Duty Warzone. Sorry, I was throwing up in my mic. Dude, I'm sorry. Anybody who plays Warzone still is tweaking, bro. Dude, Verdansk is back. Finally. Yeah, I mean, Warzone came out, and, I think it was just a pretty dead couple weeks in, gaming when we started our channel, which when you look at recommended videos, we were getting recommended on like some crazy out there games, like in comparison to the finals. And now, I mean, it's gone. So, I mean, we've learned that YouTube really is algorithm or die. If you don't get picked up by the algorithm, your video's not really going to do well. Especially at this size that we're at. But yeah, Sam drops a video now and we get 9K, and all the thoughts we had are now invalid. So now we're back to the drawing board. And I think we kind of go ahead. Yeah, you can talk about it because you're the one that dropped the video. You've been really, really in on this lately.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier in this pod that I'm traveling for work right now. I'm currently in Arizona. I'm here for a summit for a engineering project that I'm a part of. I've been here all week. And I took this opportunity to test out a portable kind of mic that I use at home, but the version of it that's USB, to see if I could podcast while traveling and record videos. And we've learned that the software for this, which is a Shure, crashed. So we are going to talk about what we were talking about, which is going to be talking about like what we've learned in 1 month of content creation since this has fallen onto us. I had mentioned that, we want to be able to help out other content creators who are trying to find their way through the space, just like we are, because, we haven't really had that opportunity. It happened so fast for us. And so part of that was algorithm. So Cody, if you want to give us an intro as to, why we picked this topic, what made us kind of talk about the algorithm even to start with?
Yeah, I think we're going to slot this in where I kind of already talked about how there was a lot of updates coming out. I know you mentioned that the Switch 2 even came out. I don't know if that's something that we have in the audio that crashed, but the Switch 2 came out when we were dropping videos. So, I mean, it's just fighting. You explained it in a really good way, and I'm going to just use mine as well, is that, there's a stream, and there's a lot of water running through. And, there's going to be... or a river, I guess is the word, we use. The river. There's a river and there's water going through, and it branches off into a million different streams. And all of it's taking water and moving it places. And some streams are going to have more water sometimes. And some streams might take water from other streams. And, let's say we drop a video and, like I said, the Switch 2 comes out. All the water is moving towards the Switch 2. No matter how hard we try, the law of motion, what's in motion stays in motion. We can't redirect it. That is the hype. That's where all the information's going. We're a gaming channel, and it's going to put us in that bucket, like you mentioned, of all the other little fishies trying to get their views, and we just don't have enough water. And that's how it is. I'll let you go more into it because you're the one that was really, psychoanalyzing it this week. I wasn't able to. We've been trying to do it together. We've been trying to think tank texts of massive walls of text, trying to figure it out. But you kind of really locked in this week on it. So I'll let you just take it over from here.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm repeating myself. I think I lost the audio, so I'm going to give the full spiel. And if it's repeating itself, we'll maybe we cut this or something. But here we go. Okay. So what we experienced was a dip in views. Cody mentioned that we had sort of a honeymoon phase when we started this YouTube channel. We started it right at the beginning of season 6. We had great viewership, great growth, all sorts of stuff. Week 2 rolls around and that declines heavily, like pretty much instantly. We drop, from getting a maximum of 11,000 views to like topping out around like 1,200 views. That includes around the arena when we did our interview with Shock. So if this pod does better, go check out that. It's a cool interview. But long story short, it got me thinking, okay, how is the YouTube algorithm working? Because, I've mentioned before, I'm a data guy. It's interesting to me. And they have documentation for it, but it's not so explicit. So here's the thought process behind it. When you upload a video, if you go to the video details part of the upload, you will see a category. Now, ours is being pre-populated by gaming, even though we never set that to start with. So YouTube is somehow determining that we're a gaming channel, which that's fine. That's what we are. And so what I think happens is you have, like Cody said, you have a river. I explained it as a bucket. So you have a bucket, and it's in that bucket is all of the gaming videos that are being uploaded to YouTube at that time and being watched to YouTube at that time. And as you become more granular, or as you move down the river and, basically diversify. So we go from gaming to maybe various consoles like PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC. And then we go to the games themselves. So Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, the finals, like all of that granularity. The way that you get pushed by the algorithm, it seems like you're almost in competition through every step of the way. So you and the content you're producing needs to be getting viewed in that bucket before you finally get to your video. Like the final granularity stage is your video, and that is what gets pushed to the viewer, right? So here's what we experienced. First week, we had success. What else was happening in gaming around then besides the season 6 release of the finals? The only thing I can think of is Frag Punk. And it had been out. It had been out for like a week or two. And I, in my opinion, it's losing steam as far as like viewership. I don't see the content getting pushed as much. So that's what we were competing with. And we had newer content to our game. So more people are looking up finals content. So we're getting pushed through the algorithm. Okay. Then you have going through that, you wind up on our channel, which is doing successful. So you could see that every single video, we're getting more and more and more views. Okay. Makes sense. Week 2 rolls around. This is when Marvel Rivals got an update with Emma Frost. Call of Duty Warzone got Verdansk back, I believe, in the same week. And I think even in the same week, that's when the Switch 2 was announced. It was either at the end of the week or middle of the week. I'm pretty sure it was the same week. But if we go back to our bucket scenario, Switch 2 gets announced. All the traffic that would go at that granularity stage of console is now being pushed over to the Switch 2. So you probably saw on YouTube, even if you don't care about the Switch 2, you probably saw that you were getting content pushed about it, about Mario Kart World Tour, I think is the name of it, or whatever the new game is going to be called. You probably saw things like Casey Neistat or MKBHD or other people who were in New York trying out the console, like all that stuff. Like that's what's getting pushed to you now. And you can see from our views and other content creators as well in the finals, there's a huge decline in viewership, right? Cool. Makes sense. All making sense so far. So now we go to the following week, which was last week. I uploaded a video covering 6.3, which is the final's biggest update yet for the season besides 6.0. And we see explosive growth again. We're back to like almost 8,000, maybe even 9,000 views, something like that. I'm not sure what's at this point. Great engagement, things like that. And we're back. And so anyways, it's just interesting. I think Cody mentioned, and I don't know if it'll make the cut, but we definitely experienced some demotivation because, you ride this high getting, that many views in your first week. You're like, damn, we're really popping off, to getting 10% of what you were getting. You're getting 1,000 views versus 10,000 views or whatever. So anyways, all this is long-winded to say, hopefully that makes sense, and how content creation works on YouTube. And also, don't get demotivated if you're, experiencing a lull. It's just, you might be competing against things that you're just not going to win against at the time. I don't think many people are going to win against Nintendo announcing something. So
we sure did.
There you go. That's it.
We sure did not.
Yeah, we sure did not.
Definitely did not.
But yeah, interesting. It was definitely better the first time I said it, but whatever.
Yeah,
It sucks to suck in. This is a learning process.
Yeah. And honestly, kind of out of our hands, but it's really fun that I was rambling for 7 more minutes, and so it's whatever. But I think with that, we're gonna wrap it up. We had just some of the stuff we wanted to talk about. We'll see you guys next Monday. Yeah.
One last thing before we go. I personally would like to give a shout out to Rio and Waltz. If you guys don't know who they are, check out their podcast called The Vault. They are basically the 2 people really carrying the pro scene in the finals right now. So if you are interested in esports and what it looks like in the finals, check out their podcast. They're doing great interviews. We are collaborating with them. Waltz is in our Discord. We're in theirs. Like, we're planning to have some content with them, and we're planning to cover some more Pro Hub stuff that they're putting on. Maybe do some watch parties, things like that. We'll have more information as we get to it, but we're in the planning stages of that right now. But check out their podcast. It's great content. I listened to an episode just the other day, and I've got one more that I'm going to listen to on the plane on the way home tomorrow. So give them a shout out. Check them out. Let them know that we sent you. And with that, yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for dealing with our tech issues a little bit. And we'll catch you guys at the finals. Peace.